Joy Reid decided to respond to me, come after me, acting like I had accused her of something that was not true. Most of you probably know or have heard of Joy Reid on MSNBC, well-known host there for many years. Kind of a standard MSNBC host. She may be a little better than some of them on some of the garbage, but she's, she's was all in for Russiagate, all in for Trump is everything that's wrong in the world, and everything was right before Trump. Everything is right after Trump. So anyway, she went kind of viral. Something she said went kind of viral the other day. It was, she was in an interview, and you've heard about this Gabby Petito thing, was a van blogger with her fiance. She was murdered. They found her body. Now they're looking for the fiance. That whole story has become a big deal. So they were interviewing Joy Reid. Someone was interviewing Joy Reid on MSNBC about that. And Joy Reid said, well, we have missing white person syndrome because we only seem to care about missing white people. And here's the thing. I'm glad Joy Reid said that. That's absolutely true. That's fucking important fact. Everyone should be talking about that. Hey, we only seem to have national concern when a white, and specifically white woman, usually young white woman, because we're ageist too. Let's remember that. We're ableist, we're ageist, we're racist, we're sexist. So really just a perfectly abled, I don't know what the expression is, white, young female. Older white woman, we wouldn't give a shit. Disabled person, probably wouldn't give a shit. Even really, we're even looksist, if that's a thing. If it were an ugly white person, a white woman, we probably wouldn't care also. So really, it's a specific brand of missing white woman where our whole society goes, wait, what? A fucking attractive white woman's gone. This can't happen. This is not okay. Now, here's the thing. It's not okay, but you notice it's only a national story when it is specifically that type of human being. Okay. The only other time it's a national story is when there's celebrity involved. So, when someone has killed people and it happens to be OJ, national story. Although, again, that was a white woman. So maybe that defeats my point, my secondary point. But no, if there's celebrity involved, then a different thing. But okay, so that's what they're talking to Joy Reid about. The expression that Joy Reid used, missing white woman syndrome, then becomes like a hashtag. It goes kind of viral. So people were talking about this. It was getting discussed. So I responded to this on Twitter. So here's someone posting Joy Reid's clip. That's a quote from Joy Reid. No one is looking for us. With all the coverage of Gabby Petito case, Joy Reid calls out the media's obsession with missing white women and calls it missing white woman syndrome. Also, there's hundreds, really thousands of missing and murdered Indigenous women and women of many colors, but specifically it's a problem in Indigenous communities because the law doesn't fucking care, and they often won't come after missing Indigenous women. So, but you don't hear that on the national news, right? That doesn't get talked about. So Joy Reid's doing an important thing, bringing this up. However, you've got to consider the entirety of who Joy Reid is and what she stands for. So I responded, as you can see here. She's absolutely right that American media only seems to care about missing white women. But meanwhile, Joy Reid of MSNBC manufactures consent for endless war on black and brown people around the world. Interesting. So I responded with that, and Joy Reid took issue with this. She apparently seems to think, well, that can't be true at all. She says, really? How so? Last I checked, I've been consistently anti-war, including in Afghanistan and Iraq, anti-drug war, and trying to elevate news about the diaspora for my entire career. Would love to know what you're referring to. So in her mind, assuming she believes what she's saying, she thinks that she is consistently anti-war and is always against war and does not help manufacture consent for our endless wars around the world that have killed millions, literally tens of thousands of bombs dropped every year. 26,000 bombs dropped Obama's final year, according to Pentagon numbers. 40,000 dropped the first year of Donald Trump. So this continues going on. It hasn't changed, really. Biden has taken out most of the ground troops, or almost all of the ground troops, with the exception of a few mercenaries and with the exception of contractors. However, he's still bombing in Afghanistan. So that war is not over. You're not done with a war if you're going to keep bombing a country. Anyway, Joy Reid is flabbergasted. She says, I am consistently anti-war. What could you possibly be talking about? So then here I gave her multiple responses. Well, let's see. You supported the jingoistic anti-Russia stance. You supported Russiagate, now proven hilariously false. How often have you talked about our economic war on Venezuela, which has killed tens of thousands? How often have you covered our economic war on Iran, killing tens of thousands? And keep in mind, these are just like the things I can know with a little bit of research. I don't watch every episode of Joy Reid, so it's quite possible that she's actually even worse than I'm saying here. So this is only one of 3 tweets of my responses. So let me keep showing you the others. You support a man who was vice president while America dropped tens of thousands of bombs on innocent civilians. By definition, you are endorsing a war criminal. She also endorsed Obama, so endorsing a war criminal there too. Endorsing someone dropping tens of thousands of bombs. You supported a president who perpetrated endless wars, Obama. You supported jingoistic anti-North Korea stances. So these are all things designed to manufacture consent for war, kind of endlessly. How often have you covered our economic war on North Korea, killing thousands? How often have you defended Julian Assange, who revealed countless war crimes? It seems you don't understand what it means to be truly anti-war. And if you think about all of those things that I listed there, and again, this is not everything Joy Reid has ever said or done, but that was a quick list off the top of my head, off of what I knew of her or quickly could find about her. All of those things help make sure that we have endless wars, that they are ongoing. When you do segments about how horrible North Korea is, or how horrible it is that Trump's trying to create peace with North Korea, or how, or you never talk about our economic sanctions against North Korea that have killed, over the years, probably hundreds of thousands, but let's just say tens of thousands recently. Literally, you have Rex Tillerson as Secretary of State saying publicly, there's video of it that I've played, saying publicly that we were excited to see that dead North Korean fishermen were washing up, their boats were washing up with them dead inside on South Korean coasts, because it meant that they were fishing longer and longer because they were so desperate for food, and they themselves were dying trying to catch fish. And so Rex Tillerson was not saying that's horrible. He was saying, how great is that? Because it shows our sanctions are working. So that is how U.S. sanctions work. They kill people. We know they're killing people. And when we're like, wee-hoo, and we break out the little party hats, little party poppers, maybe a little kazoo thing, and we get very excited that we're killing people. And most of this stuff, Joy Ann Reid supports, either supports through lies of omission, just never talking about it, or actively supports, or has on guests like CIA people or military people to talk about how good many of these things are. So she is pushing us towards war by doing all of that toxic nationalism garbage. And the biggest one, which I did mention in one of those tweets, is that by fomenting Russiagate, which has all collapsed, it's hilariously false. There's fucking not a shred of it that has held up. And it's not like you couldn't have known this. It's not, for some people, who maybe didn't follow this information on a day-by-day basis, who didn't have the fucking eyes clockworked orange with the toothpicks open on all this shit. They may have gone, well, I thought it was probably true, but interesting. It turned out to be false. I guess we didn't know. It's like, no, I knew, many of us knew from the beginning that there was fucking nothing there, that there was no there. Many of us knew from the beginning. We were talking about, we were screaming about it from the beginning. You can hate Donald Trump as a human being and also know that Russiagate was a fucking pile of garbage. And Joy Reid was one of the best at fucking continually putting forward all of this bullshit. I mean, when a story you have put forward that much and that often and that fervently just fucking dissolves into nothingness, like so many people said it would, you should be drummed out of the country. Like, you should never be on television ever again. Instead, she still has a TV show and fucking on every day, just spouting garbage and nonsense. Doesn't matter. But people may go, well, that's not being pro-war. That's just, falling for Russiagate. No, that is being pro-war, because by creating those kind of tensions between two countries, two nuclear-armed countries, the most nuclear-armed countries, you are pushing us closer towards nuclear Armageddon. You are feeding in to toxic nationalism that it does nothing but destroy our planet, destroy our lives, and push us towards a nuclear winter that would kill us all. And the board, the group of atomic scientists that put forward their how many minutes to midnight being nuclear Armageddon, and they now have us like 30 seconds from midnight because of this, because of Russiagate, because of pushing nuclear powers at each other's throats. China is another one. Now, I haven't watched enough Joy Reid videos to know how she specifically speaks about China, but I know plenty of how she talks about Russia, how she talks about, just Trump being owned by Russia, there being collusion. All of that shit helped make sure that we were on the foot of, at the brink of nuclear war, as close as she and others like her could help push us. So that is not being anti-war, okay? Furthermore, even on the things that she listed as, what do you mean I'm not anti-war? I'm anti-war in Afghanistan, anti-war in Iraq. And it's like, okay, even if that's true, how often were you really screaming about it? Just because you make a comment here or there when Obama was in office that you don't like the war in Afghanistan, that's not really being anti-war, is it? It's anti-war if, like, on a daily basis, you're going, holy shit, what is wrong with this fucking madman president, Obama, killing God knows how many in Iraq and Afghanistan? What the fuck is the matter with him? That's anti-war. Just sitting there and going, Obama is just wonderful, and I really like him, and he does really cool stuff, and just what a suave, smart guy. I don't like the war in Afghanistan, so I disagree with him on that, but otherwise, just a beautiful human being. Then you're not anti-war. That's like saying you were anti-war under the Nazis, but you really loved Hitler. Hitler was just a fucking cool guy, just really smart and suave, and really brought dignity back to the German chancellorship, whatever the fuck. And you were really all for that, but I disagree with him on the whole World War thing. No, you can't have it both ways. If you want to be anti-war, you got to be anti-war criminals as well. And then I also mentioned Julian Assange in my response to her. How if you are going to be truly anti-war, then you've got to stand up for those who reveal war crimes, for those who reveal the information that can actually be used to stop the wars. Like, you've got to support them, and you've got to support them regularly, not quietly. Maybe, for all I know, like I said, I don't watch every Joy Reid video. For all I know, one time in 2012, she said, I think Julian Assange should not be persecuted or whatever. To me, that does not count. To me, if you're actually going to stand up for this, you're talking about it a lot. You make it clear. You make it clear regularly. And you talk about the people who are saying that Assange should be persecuted, that Assange should be tortured, that Assange should be locked away for fucking years and years and years of his life for revealing the truth. You talk about those people as if they are fucking criminals, as if they are fucking Hannibal Lecter pieces of shit. You can't celebrate them, the people that have kept him in prison, the Obamas of the world, the fucking Hillary Clintons of the world, the administrations that have kept him imprisoned for 10 years. You can't celebrate them while quietly going, I don't think he should really be locked up. That's your choice. Fucking decide. Do you want to be anti-war, or do you actually just want to be a corporate stooge like you are? And here's the thing, is like, yes, this, back and forth between me and Joy Reid. I'm talking about it right now because she's one that actually responded, and because she had that viral moment about white women missing. But you can't support equality of race. You can't be anti-racist and meanwhile, through both omission and otherwise, manufacture consent for white supremacist wars that obliterate the lives of black and brown people. I'm sorry. It's your choice to make. But those are the options. So, yes, I'm talking about her because she responded. I went back and forth with her. But this is not that uncommon on like MSNBC, some of the others, to have occasional moments where they speak a truth that surprises people. So in this case, it was the media only cares about white missing women. That was the truth that surprised people. That was the truth where it grabbed people because they're not used to our mainstream media doing that, revealing that, being allowed to reveal that. And so every once in a while, MSNBC or CNN or PBS or whatever the fuck, Fox News is its own other troglodyte world over there. But every once in a while, you'll have these moments where you go, wow, they said it. Oh my goodness, they said it. But here's the thing. Those moments actually help them continue their work of manufacturing consent for endless war, for capitalist exploitation, for American empire, etc. Because it makes them look as if they are outside of the Overton window, as if they are speaking outside of those kind of little. And actually, Fox News uses this technique endlessly. Like Tucker Carlson, all of them at Fox News. I mean, I've seen enough clips to see that most of them talk about, you know what the mainstream media is doing. Fox is the most watched news channel in all of America. So I got bad news for you, Fox. You are the mainstream media. You know what they're doing over there on the mainstream media? Fox News loves that shit. It's like, dude, you are it. So you can't. They're always like, over the mainstream media, they love Joe Biden. And it's like, some of the mainstream media may love Joe Biden, but you are mainstream media. You don't love Joe Biden. Like, it's fucking ridiculous. But anyway, they've learned that it looks good to be outside. It looks edgy. It looks revolutionary, whatever. It looks good to be outside of the acceptable talking points. Now, MSNBC is not really outside of the acceptable talking points. First of all, despite the fact that Joy Reid said, hey, we only care about white missing women, what is MSNBC going to keep doing? They're going to keep caring about white missing women. They're not going to change their ways. They're not going to stop talking about the viral sensation that is a white missing woman. So they have one person on there, maybe there's another one who said it too, but they have one person on there going, hey, it shouldn't just be white missing women. Meanwhile, they're going to keep caring only about white missing women. But also, they may have someone on there who's saying these endless wars are ridiculous. Or like CNN, after the Washington Post revealed the Afghanistan papers, CNN did like a day's worth of coverage. There was a clip that I've played of Wolf Blitzer talking about the Afghanistan papers, talking about how awful it is, talking about how our government doesn't even know the goal in Afghanistan, how much money and lives have been wasted. That's Wolf Blitzer on CNN, one of the main fucking news shills, pieces of garbage out there, talking about how pathetic the Afghanistan war is. But they talk, and at the end of the conversation, he goes, wow, I wonder if there will be an equal accounting of Iraq, the war in Iraq. I bet we're going to hear some of the same stuff, and it's going to be equally horrible. And that's CNN, but that was one day. So they did it for one day, and then they shifted back to the allowable talking points. So it's, and the terminology for this, although it's usually used to describe like the presidency or CIA or something, is a limited hangout. That comes from the expression letting it all hang out, which I don't know if that comes from some guy who liked to flap his dick and balls around. I didn't look up the etymology, but it comes from the expression letting it all hang out. And I think it was in the Nixon administration. They said, well, how about a limited hangout? Let's let a little bit hang out. Let's do just the ball area, not the whole shaft. Well, here's what we'll do. We'll hang out the ball area. We'll tuck the shaft back around So you just get a ball hangout. It'll be a limited hangout, limited ball-based hangout. It'll be just a limited teabagging, Darjeeling limited. It'll be a Darjeeling limited teabagging situation. Patent pending. I'm going to get those t-shirts made. Anyway, so they talk about a limited hangout, basically revealing something that is wrong or corrupt or a scandal, revealing a portion of it so that people think that is all there is to know. And the scandal becomes that portion, and they don't talk about the rest. You shut up about anything else it could be. One example that I brought up recently on a Government Secrets, my other podcast, is the 28 pages, the redacted 28 pages from the 9/11 report. Now, those are important. They show Saudi Arabia helped fund some of these terrorists, etc. So it's not that they're not important, and it's likely not that they're not true, meaning they are true. Sorry for the double negative. They likely are true, and they're a scandal. But there's far more about 9/11 to know and to investigate. So by acting like it's only the 28 pages, you've already been defeated. They've gotten what they wanted. They got the limited hangout. You focused on their Darjeeling limited balls, and you act like there's no shaft there. To stretch this analogy much too far. And yes, I mean stretch. So by having these talking heads on MSNBC every once in a while do something like this, every once in a while, and I'm not saying they told her to do this. I'm sure she just was speaking her mind. But by allowing this type of thing and not like firing her for doing it, it works to their advantage. It makes them look like they are actually, outside of what would be considered normal corporate talking points. Normal corporate media is not going to talk about the fact that they only give a shit about attractive young white women that go missing. They would not do that. But here you have one of them doing it for a moment. But what are they going to do? They're going to go back to only talking about attractive young white women missing. So the limited hangout helps with their branding. It helps make people think that there's something they're not. And so, another good example, and I actually think pretty good guy, and he said a lot of important things, but a good example of a kind of firebrand who was outside of what was generally acceptable on MSNBC was Dylan Ratigan. He was on there for a few years, and the moment he started really going viral was when he started calling out both sides. He started talking about how both sides were fucked, how they continue these endless wars, etc. How the rich are destroying lives. He became kind of a Howard Beale type character for a bit. But then, I mean, the way he describes it, if you want to take him at his word, and I think he's telling the truth. By the way, I was on his show like 2 weeks before it ended, so he having me on was one of his kind of. He already knew he was leaving, and it was kind of his swinging for the fences. He was like, whatever, let's put this fucking guy on here. I mean, it can't get any worse than it is. I'm leaving anyway. But the way he tells it is they didn't fire him, but it was headed into an election season. I think it was Obama versus Romney or McCain maybe. And yeah, probably McCain. Obama versus McCain. And they basically said to him, you have to support one of these guys. You have to decide. Are you supporting Obama or are you supporting McCain? And if you decide McCain, you're probably not right for our network. Or who knows? They might have been fine with that. I don't know. But you have to pick one. And so they were trying to pressure him back into the box. It was basically like, look, you can be this firebrand. You can be all weird. You can call out both sides. But going into this election season, you gotta pick a side. Okay? But Dylan Ratigan didn't want to. He wanted to say both parties are corrupt. Both parties are Wall Street parties, and they're both fucking us. And so he ultimately left. So they didn't fire him, but they made him an offer he had to refuse, as opposed to an offer he couldn't refuse. They made him an offer he basically had to refuse. They tried to force him to say something he didn't believe, which was endorsing Obama. And he was like, all right, I'm out. So incredibly popular show there on MSNBC, but they had no room for him because popular doesn't matter if you're outside of what is acceptable on those airwaves. But like I said, like I'm saying, they'll give you a little room. So Joy and Reid decided to come to me. By the way, to give you the conclusion of my back and forth with Joy Reid on Twitter, and I knew this would happen. I was like, all right. She said she legitimately wanted to know. That was her. Let me see if I can find it again. That was her response, was that she legitimately wanted to know how she's not anti-war, or how she's pro-war. Really? How so? Last I checked, I've been consistently anti-war. Afghanistan, Iraq, drug war, trying to elevate news about the diaspora for my entire career. Would love to know what you're referring to. So she would literally said she'd love to know what it is I could be referring to that makes her pro-war. So then I give her everything. I give her a 3-tweet long list as to how you're still pro-war if you're fostering these belief systems of toxic nationalism, of Russia's evil and they're going to get you any minute now, of Russiagate, which anybody with half a brain knew was fake at the beginning of it. If you putting anti-China stuff, anti-North Korea stuff, if you're putting forward all that garbage, it doesn't matter if you also say, but I don't like the war in Afghanistan. You're still pro-war. So I give her that list, and I knew this would happen. Did not respond. Not interested in getting involved in that debate. Not interested in talking about how you can support and endorse a war criminal like Obama, who literally proudly drone bombed people, innocent civilians. He said, turns out, one of his quotes was, turns out I'm good at killing people. He drone bombed innocent American citizens as well. The son of Anwar al-Awlaki, who was a 16-year-old boy and was not with his father when they drone bombed him. They drone bombed him separately. So they knew what they were doing. They knew they were killing the 16-year-old son of someone they viewed as an enemy of America, despite the fact that the son had done nothing. So anyway, you get the point. You can't support a war criminal and act like you're anti-war. So that's what I got for you today. Please subscribe at rockfin.com/LeeCamp, ROKFIN.com/LeeCamp, and keep fighting.